Does anyone still remember Spider-Man Unlimited? No, not that one, although that's also pretty good. I might talk about it someday. However, I'm referring to Spider-Man Unlimited, the mobile game released on September 10th of 2014, developed by Gameloft, the creators of some of the best mobile games from the early 2000s. There's something about Spider-Man media before Homecoming that just hit. I mean, not always, but you can definitely feel the stamp left by Tom Holland's Spider-Man on everything that came after. Regardless, any cultured Spidey fan can tell you that this game slapped. If you don't know, this was essentially a Spider-Man twist on the very popular Subway Surfers formula, and it really worked. A Spidey freerunning game with his moveset was such a genius idea. For a while, Spider-Man Unlimited was not just a throwaway mobile game, it was the Spider-Man mobile game. Not that it had that much competition, to be quite honest. You can definitely tell it had effort behind it. Fully voiced story cutscenes, comic-style visuals, and a constant stream of new Spideys pulled from across the multiverse. It was such a love letter to Spider-Man fans. I mean, there are over 240 playable characters. God damn. There are some I've never even heard of, such as Steel Spider, Spider Jameson, and Spider Herc. I mean, nearly every single Spider-Man is in this game. At its peak, Spider-Man Unlimited was everything a mobile game should be. Gameloft was pushing out updates constantly. New characters, themed events tied to comic storylines, even seasonal challenges. The game felt actually alive. With that being said, it wasn't perfect. The game was heavily monetized. Understandable since it was a free download, but every single time you booted the game up, finished a mission, or even just breathed too hard near the menu, it was like, hey, wanna buy 25 ISO 8 for $4.99? Thankfully, it never intruded on the actual gameplay. But what did suck, those energy tokens. You only get 5 plays at a time after that. It was a 10-minute wait per token, or pay to skip the timer. People complain about loot boxes, but I'm still traumatized from a game just outright saying, oh, you wanted to keep playing? That's adorable. Why don't you go find your mom's credit card or enjoy staring at a timer for the next hour, just to recover it back to full. A huge chunk of my memories with this game are just waiting to play, and honestly, it ruined a lot of the momentum and fun. To be fair, I did suck. That definitely shaped my experience, but that's the messed up part. This system punishes you more if you're bad at the game, and considering I was like 9 at the time, pretty sure I wasn't the only kid getting locked out of their own fun. Way to alienate your core market. But if you could get past all that, the game was awesome. The gameplay loop was simple, but it never got old. And unlike some endless runners, Spider-Man Unlimited actually had levels. You weren't just chasing high scores, you were progressing through stories with chapters and real bosses. This was also the first real notable Spider-Man voice work by Yuri Lowenthal. He's good in this game, I always liked him. But what really gave this game its edge was the online aspect. Spider-Man Unlimited wasn't just a run till you drop kind of deal. I mean, it sort of was, but it had a global leaderboard, events brackets, and weekly competitions that actually gave you rewards. If you placed high enough, you could unlock rare characters, ISO 8, or even sometimes exclusive suits you couldn't get anywhere else. They'd roll out themed events based on actual comic arcs, stuff like Spider-Verse, Clone Saga, or Halloween specials. Each one had its own unique characters, missions, and sometimes even boss variants. You definitely had to seriously grind for them though. These events were no joke. You'd be doing multiple runs a day, climbing bracket after bracket, trying to outscore some random players around the world just to land in the top tier. And let me tell you, there were some seriously sweaty players on this game. This was really the first great online Spider-Man game. We have yet to get anything like this since. One of my favorite things about this game were the locations. It wasn't just endless rooftops in New York. There were multiple unique environments, and they actually meant something. Each stage had its own unique vibe, hazards, and music, which gave the game way more atmosphere than you'd expect from a mobile runner. You had the classic cityscape, which was sort of the default. Then you had Oscorp, which was basically a techno space, these cool panels, security lasers, along with the regular enemies. There was also the subway level, the big giant robot, the 2099 dimension, which for a mobile game didn't look half bad, and many more. And it's the way the stages blended together mid-run that was so sick. I love all these unique animations. You'd be swinging through New York and then suddenly crash through a window in Oscorp, then get flung out the other side into the skyline. It made every run feel dynamic and connected. So with all that being said, what happened to the game? How did something so loved, this creative, this full of content, with literally hundreds of Spider people just disappear? Well, the short answer is Gameloft shut it down on March 31st of 2019. You could definitely see the updates slow down in 2018, There were technical issues, lag, crashes, weird bugs where your Spidey would just clip through the floor mid-run, and don't even get me started on the endless loading screens or the game randomly eating your ISO 8. Updates became slower, issues weren't being fixed, so while it came as a surprise, it wasn't something no one saw coming. There was no final update, no send-off, no offline modes, just a cold, server-dependent goodbye. If you had the app installed, it stopped working. All that progress, your characters, your leaderboard scores, your grind, it all vanished. There wasn't even a given reason explicitly. Some say it was done to license expiring, declining revenue. It's worth noting that there was a hostile takeover of Gameloft, acquiring majority control by mid-2016. After that, there was a significant internal restructuring. Corporate leadership changed, and priorities shifted to more high-profile projects. And so, of course, Spider-Man Unlimited got left in the dust. No new characters, no fresh events, and no fixes for the many glitches. You could tell it was not a priority anymore. And assuming the Marvel license finally ran out, that was probably the last nail in the coffin. As of today, Spider-Man Unlimited is completely unplayable in its original form. The servers were shut down in March of 2019, and since then, the game no longer functions beyond the loading screen. Even if you still have it installed, core features like story progression, events, and character unlocks are all tied to the online servers, which are gone. Though some fans have managed to revive parts of the game through an APK and offline mods, but those versions are buggy, limited, and not really accessible for the average player. For most, this game is just gone, and it's a real shame. A Spider-Man game with online functionality is such a great idea, especially with the multiverse. It looked like we were getting something similar to this in Spider-Man 2, but they cancelled it, which honestly I'm glad. Maybe one day we'll get something like this again, maybe not. Mobile games have certainly become quite terrible in recent years, and considering this game's monetization was already pushing it back then, I don't even want to imagine what it would look like today. So yeah, that was Spider-Man Unlimited. A game that maybe wasn't perfect, but undeniably packed with passion. But that's all for this video, thanks for watching. Also, I would like to say that in the future of this channel, I will be expanding beyond Spider-Man to a more variety of games. There's only so many videos I can make on this character and still have passion, especially with how dry it became after Spider-Man 2. I have interest in so many other genres, and I would like to explore that. If we get more Spider-Man stuff that I think is worth talking about, then I will. But until then, I'm gonna focus on branching out with this channel, whilst maintaining the same style I've always had. You'll see.